Hello everybody, welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays by Tornado IP Consulting. I'm here again today with Mike Bowe to continue our discussion on the Pentagon license-free patent set. And hopefully you have had a chance to watch the previous episodes where we talked about how you can leverage a large patent set, and we were utilizing this Pentagon license-free set to show you how you can quickly identify patents that are of interest, how you can quickly read a patent, what are the key things to look for. And we mentioned that typically if you are in an area that is highly innovative, it's really worthwhile to have a patent search tool which just makes your ability to read and prioritize patents just way faster and more effective. And today we're going to demonstrate one of those tools, which is by a company called Questel, and the name of the tool is Orbit. And we are partnering with the company that provides this tool because they're very excited to share with our audience how these tools work. So Mike is going to start kind of where we left off, which is the Pentagon has a really nice website, which you're seeing here today, TechLink, where they actually are showing you all of the patents that are available license-free. And not only that, but they give a little bit of a high-level information about them, which is super helpful because you can have a feel for if you're interested in or not. And if you are interested, then you can start digging and reading it more carefully. And that's what we want to demonstrate. We want to show a patent that Mike finds interesting and then show you what we would do with that patent to dig in a little bit further to find out a little bit more about it. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, just as one example, I picked this inside of the long list that we talked about previously. There's a Navy Research Lab patent that's available for polymer membranes to control breathability. And I came from the building science world, and they care about often, does moisture go through a membrane or does it block moisture and or liquid water? And chemical barriers. I could envision this might be useful for other stuff like purification or other things besides water going through. But so I want to learn more about what this technology is. And if you go into individual citations of these DoD opportunities, they tell you a little bit about it, how it works, right? Protective clothing, filtration, controlled release system. So it's more than just clothing, which I thought it was initially for the Department of Defense. So they've considered that already. And they talk about switchability to make something highly diffuse and then close it to make it low diffuse. So there's interesting stuff about it. They tell that it integrates with common materials, polyurethane, nylon, cotton. So yeah, it's broad as what they've at least envisioned. We'll have to see what it says in the patent. They give you key attributes, use cases. So there's all of that. Again, the next thing that they tell you, the opportunity, it could be commercial evaluation, and there's licensing assistance from them. So you can get that if you're interested. What's the IP? Okay, here's a patent. The patent number that they're talking about. So that's the one that I want to try inside of Orbit looking at. But let's just see what they give you. If this is showing up, I'll get the PDF of it. That's actually more convenient. If this shows up, this is what a U.S. patent looks like. And so you can see who are the inventors, who's the assignee, which is of course, the Navy. Some of the other front page stuff we talked about last time. You can read through this. I'm just picking this so that we can know what the patent will be like, but see how it shows up in an Orbit search. So I want the patent number. So I'll copy that and go over to Orbit. And now this is, again, there are a lot of features inside of this. So I'm going to see what shows up. And this, since we have the number, I would try maybe patent numbers. There's a patent number search tool, right? You can search classic, which was the first one I liked. But if you have a patent number, let's see how that works. That and
Mike, I noticed that you're not putting the B at the end. Is that what normally you would do?
I don't usually put those, like if it's got US and the series is they're up to 12 million now, those are granted, whereas the ones that are not, that are applications only, we'll find one. is often starts with the year close. Whoops. Oh. So here's the patent, and this is the exact patent. It's from priority date is 2008. Let's see what happens when we click on this. And this this is now a patent record. This has more than, I'm going to once over to the PDF. It's just the actual document page of that US patent, but this is telling you from inside the Orbit tool list of publications for the family. This says it's US and it's granted, and this here underneath you see US 2012. That was the application. You can see the application versus the granted patent, and they're not always exactly the same. So you file an application with claims. The patent examiner may have several rounds of back and forth with the inventor saying, oh, we don't think this is novel. Well, here's why we think it is, the inventors might say. And so the claims may not be as broad as in the original application. So if that's going to be important for your use of it, you can go into those two publications and compare them. Also, this one in the family, if is it big enough to see? Oh, right. This US 812 and this US 893. There's two members in the family. So this was split somehow by the patent examiners and said, we think this is actually two separate inventions. And so you can see what each of those are inside of there. But they're all, by this notation, they're granted patents, and that's also what the B2 stands for.
So something that I wanted to highlight here, Mike, is that it's just a little bit surprising because typically if you have an invention, you file in multiple countries because you likely want to be able to protect your market in multiple countries. So it's kind of unusual from my mindset's coming from industry that you would only have a U.S. Patent number.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny because most corporate sourced patents would have at least some number of countries, maybe Western Europe, maybe China and Japan, maybe not all, hundreds of countries that it could be, but often it's rare, I thought, to see only one. Now, is this just so that they have it documented, or that this invention, if it's whatever the invention is, according to these patents, this doesn't stop you from making it and using it in Europe, although you couldn't make it in Europe and bring it here. So it is surprising. Usually I have a list of countries, and as I've looked through a couple of these other Pentagon-sourced patents, many of them are like this, U.S. only. What else can I point out from this? Again, the front page hit. There's a couple of inventors. If it came to that this was a broad field and a lot of work was done there, you can search these inventors and see what else they would have worked on. So if, for example, there was adjacent future or past in history research that led to patents, you might be able to see what these folks have done. And also, you can actually, outside of a patent tool, you can see, have these guys presented at conferences, etc. So
you can go back to the main page of Orbit and search these inventor names.
And you can do that. So let's see it. Before I do that, right, so this is just that. Now, can I see one of the patents? This is the 893, 812. I'll do them in order. 812. So see what this one says. And this is now an individual record. Whoops, see if I move this out of the way. They give there's an abstract to it, a compound giving the formula below, which doesn't show up. Move back to this. They give you an abstract, which is often a paragraph or even a sentence or two of material.
At the top there's the claims. So this is in the big.
So this is again. This is kind of the bibliography, the top page. What I wanted to point out was, let's see, can I do that? Go back one. The 8.9. This has 5 inventors. We're going to go inside this one, and there's 4 inventors. As it was inside the patent of one of the inventors was not the inventor on this version of the patent. And what is the invention? Well, the invention is described by claims. Compound having the formula. Now you get, actually, it says a molecular formula of it. this thiophene EOs X. So they tell you what it is. X can be. So they get you, and I did the compound is what they're claiming, not a use of it, not a device made from it, but this is a claim for these compounds. And if I look
That's
through,
pretty, Mike, what I wanted to point out is I was going to mention it initially. When we were first, before we got into the tool, we were looking at the Pentagon's page where they kind of summarize that patent for us, right? It's sometimes very, very misleading to just to go with whatever they say, application space, because likely they just stuck this patent into a Gen AI tool and it kind of summarized for you, but on the applications areas. But it's not true, because if a patent is actually covering the entire formula, you could use this in way more applications than what that abstract was telling us.
so this patent protects that compound, assuming it's still alive, and it doesn't matter what you're doing it. That compound, you need this patent. This patent allows them to exclude someone from doing it, or if they're giving you, a potential manufacturer or user of it, to use it
In the US.
in the U.S., this patent owner has the right to exclude someone from doing that, or would allow it. And then it's interesting, like a way I read claims, let me see if I can bring this up. The way I often read claims, okay, this is claim 1. And claim 2 is something from claim 1 where, and if you, well, maybe I'll make it a little bigger, where this subscript N is from 2 to 10. So initially they say 2 or greater, but now in the narrowed range of 2 to 10. So, and then they say further, the X group is OH, which they mention up here, but they sometimes, it's a frequent structure where you'll have the compound of claim 1 or the method of claim 1 or the device of claim 1 where you give a little more restriction. So it funnels into lesser things, but and then if you take this stuff and polymerize it, that polymer is claimed. Again, not even saying what you're right, what you're doing with it. If you do something completely different, that could still fall inside this if you're making a polymer where you polymerize this. And then it's so forth is how the structure goes. Now, this 1 is a compound of this small time. 6 is a polymer, and then these are called a dependent claims. So this doesn't refer back, 7 doesn't refer back to the top, it refers to number 6. 8 refers to number 6, and so forth. And you can see how far it goes. And now they say, oh, if you make a capacitor, right, comprising material of the polymer of claim 6, that's a separate claim. Again, it was in the granted patent. So making a device out of this that's a capacitor is also covered. And then further down you can see a method. So there's more than just the material, but these top claims are the compound, then the polymer, then a method which comprises these various steps. I think the word comprising is interesting because if it has these, then it's under, if it has these steps, or maybe it's easier to show here at number 12, if the capacitor has an anode, a cathode, and a material, then it's underneath of this claim 12, even if it has more things. So it's not like it's only that. It comprises that, means it has that, but it could have more stuff too.
So anyone that's trying to make a capacitor with an anode and a cathode and this compound could be blocked by this patent claim in the U.S. to make
this patent inside the U.S. would let you block them. So then it's, I think it's various things like that method, but now they dial into one of the more specific materials, and I think that's the end, claim 20. Also, it doesn't have. It doesn't have to be. What if I only use a little bit of this and polymerize it with something else? Well, 18 envisions that. Oh, sorry, 19 envisioned that, where it's a copolymer with a second monomer of a conducting polymer. So it's not just pure polymer of this, but a second monomer also would be in it. And then, as you see, 20 is underneath of 19. So it tells you a fair amount of that just inside the claims portion that tells you a bit more about it. Let's see what this does. Now this is in sometimes like this has all of the material, all of the text describing, because a patent requires you not only to claim something, but you have to disclose the best mode of carrying out that invention. And so that's in here somewhere. And you would have to read it all to see, what they think is the best mode. So,
You see the examples, Mike?
let's see, does that go down? Oh yeah, oh, there we go. Not every patent, it's funny, not every patent has these, but examples. Chemical synthesis of, and this, if there's a word used or abbreviations, that will show up somewhere further up. So you will, what do they mean by DMTP solvents? That will have been described earlier in, they say description, the whole part of the patent is called the disclosure. And they tell you about it. Oh, they purchased their stuff from Sigma Aldrich. This monomer was synthesized in 4 steps. And so what does where's figure 2?
That's it. It's that, I think it's that figure 2 if you scroll down. Yeah. No, oh, it's example.
That's example 2. I'm trying to see where the figures are. And I don't want to go, oh, no, that's a table. Whoops.
Sometimes figures and tables you can easier see in the actual PDF.
Right. So that's why I often keep the PDF open, because then you can get to. They have figures, and it's going to be a little bit tough to see here because it's sideways. Here's figure 2. Here's how we synthesized it. We took this, oxidative polymerization. There'll be references to how that was done inside the specification or the text write-up, and describe it. This is how it was made, and you can go over here to get the text, or this is the PDF, so it will, without being too dragging all over the place, it will show up in the, like, you see the figures go out to page 11, and the whole thing is only 18 pages. So I'm back to this. So that's interesting. I do like sometimes if I'm considering replicating it, or if I'm considering, do we want to even get this, license this? I think I went the wrong way, didn't I? I like to look at the examples to see what they did. So if it's, oh, this is something that there's no way we could possibly envision doing in my commercial application, would I even make this if I had a license? We don't have access to that. Or, oh, this is something that we could probably adapt. Again, the part that prevents anyone from practicing are in the claims, but if the method of making was so not giving a line of sight to something we would really do, that's information as to how interesting this is for you. This is also interesting, I'll say, although patents refer to patents, this section, they were made per, they followed a literature method. So then you'd use your literature searching tool, that is the public, a regular scientific journal, macromolecules. How did they make it? Just go get that paper, and that will show how they synthesize these others. So all that shows up in, again, the separate sections of this. Let's see what key content has. Right? This is a summary, I think, that Orbit tells you. And this is interesting. They pull out the independent claims. Sometimes it's useful to say a compound having, okay, we talked about that, a method comprising, and all of those, and a polymer made by that. So you could look through the 20 claims, and it wasn't that hard to do, but this is the independent claims are the ones that stand alone, and then others are referring back to it. So this is actually a convenient summary of that, too.
So it sounds like this is a way better summary than that Gen AI summary was on the top of the Pentagon page.
Yeah, right.
You really have to be cautious with Gen AI generated abstracts.
So this is interesting. So this is actually a short, depending on what your intent is. But if something in here says, "Oh, I'm very concerned we couldn't do this," or "Oh, this is something that would be of interest to us," this is actually, again, a short summary of some patents could have 30 pages of figures and 30 plus pages of text and claims. So sometimes getting a short summary, if you have to, especially if you're looking through a lot, could be interesting and helpful. Else here, I want to look. I want to find whoops, who cited this in the future, if anyone? And I forget where that is. Find similar patents. You see these functions down here, they're not necessarily part of the patent, but this is part of the orbit tool. What are similar patents? Extend the family. Again, the family is not that big because there are 2 patents, but there's not foreign filings, etc., which could be bigger. Let's see what that
I wonder if you can open up the little question mark thing, Mike. That might be helpful, just to look for where do we find citations.
Welcome. Understand citations. Citations. Future. I'm going to do this. Citations. Nothing found. So I think I didn't use that right. I'm not. This is. Oh, this is training, online training resources.
It might be not just videos. The little cat. The cat.
Oh, agree. That's not. Knowledge base. Is that where it was under?
I think so.
That's not it. That's not. See, I'm not as. I'm new to the tool.
I wonder, I don't know, it might be that this patent doesn't have any forward citations, which is really strange.
No, there's a different, let's see, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this number. I wonder whether menu, whoops, that's not it.
Oh, here we go. On the left side, that might have the citations.
Legal status, expired lapsed. First up, yeah, let's see. Document type, active filter. No. Menu.
I wonder if you could do an advanced search and look for citations just to confirm it might. This might not have any citations, but it's kind of strange.
All right, so I'm looking for legal, freedom to operate, classic. Keyword document, such as numbers, measurements, assignees represent legal status. Cited documents. Whoops. Why does it not let me? Custom. Custom. Cited documents. That where? No, cited documents. I'm going to put that there. So this thing was cited in the future by, and you'll notice this was the other family member, right? So, but then this is something, it's 11 million is this number, so that's substantially later. 2008 was the original priority date of the filings, but 10 years after that, someone filed a patent, and the assignee is also, it's the Navy. I'm curious about that.
That's self-citation. So usually, like if this is a really, really amazing material, 18 months after the priority date it would be published, so everybody could see it, and you would have a lot of citations from lots of other companies and people than just the U.S. Navy.
Right.
So that's an indication that this patent might not be so interesting.
Yeah, so this patent is interesting. The priority is 2008, so that's when they first filed it with a patent office, probably the U.S. since that's where it is, and it's now 18 years later. So I forget the granting date, but there's not that much time left on this, so that might temper the usefulness of it. But what if this is something that's related Also, the Navy has done it. I can't wait. I have to look. And here now, this also has 2 patents in its family. 1, 2, 1115. It's 3 patents in its family, U.S. Granted, and you can see each of their initial applications. So 20 and 2020, and I'm just trying to picture. What does this say? I'll look at the claim of one of them. There you go. So a fabric of something that cites back to that. Now, is this outside of the other? Does this require those materials? I think these, if you look up with that's a long name for the polymer, but is that polymer inside the earlier claim? Well, they themselves are the same inventor and assignee, so they presumably give themselves permission to use that earlier invention. But it's interesting that if I go back here, these guys are allowing the material, this older 8 million numbered patent from 2008, they're giving that for free license, but where am I here? Is this newer 2020 year patent, is that like, oh, the Navy's not giving that out because maybe they are still not certain. They may want to use that, or they may own it. And now you can switch this, actually convenient. Leave it in the claims and you can toggle through what each of them claim. A fabric or construction of a fabric, which is the method of putting it together. The second one down. A method of modulating diffusivity. Okay. A patent with a single claim. Interesting. And then what is claim? A fabric and a conductive polymer. When you put that fabric as a protective garment. So interesting.
Do we know for sure that this patent is not in the citing patent is not in the set of patents that's available for license?
So I'll go back to this. Where am I here? This is their link, and this is right there. This is the I don't want to see. This is all they say. If you close this, what IP is part of this licensing opportunity? I think they're saying only this one. Now, if one were interested in talking to them, you say, look, I did a future citation search. What about these others? Because I may or may not want to make a fabric with that polymer in it, or I may or may not want to have a method of adjusting the diffusivity. So that might be a discussion to have if someone said, this is interesting, but I don't want the 15 plus year old patent permission to use it, because I may want this. And what if I discover that I want to have something that actually does this exact polymer? It seems like they found one that works best, and they got very specific about it, and so they may not be leaving that out there because they either could use it or they've licensed it to someone else. I'm not sure.
Can you take a look at the citing patent to see if the inventors are the same, or did they add more people?
So let's do that. So I'll go to the top of the family, the biblio. Oops. There you go. So here's how I should do it. And this, and can I shrink that down? No, I don't want that. So this has, there's a way to do them both side by side. Where are the inventors here? It's gotta be, no, it's here. I'm wrong. This has 5 inventors, if I recall. Whoop. There they are. Martin, Moore, Ratmat, Justin, and Nasiri. And then I'll go over to this. Martin, Nasiri, Ratmat. So 3 of them. 2 of the others are no longer on the project. They are retired. They weren't part of it. There's a lot of reasons why 8 or 10 years later you might not have the same inventors. So let's see. Is there something?
And they are located where, Mike? They're in the U.S.
Where's the research done? That should be. Is that? Did I pass that? That's in here. You can see what not necessarily an address, but let's see.
Roberts Roy. I just saw it.
Oh,
right there. U.S. Robert. I don't know what Robert.
That's just representative. I don't know if that's like the
That's
the contact person, the lawyer that filed it for them, right? Not sure where that shows up.
Yeah, there is an address that's blank. I don't think you're required to give your address.
Okay, all right.
Participant applicant address is right there. They're in Washington D.C.
Right, right. So you're right into the SecNav, right? So,
no, this is really cool. I think this kind of demonstrates like some of the questions that we were able to explore.
Right.
We couldn't have done without Orbit. That's kind of what we wanted to highlight with this. That Orbit has allowed us to look for citations. It allowed us really quickly to look at patents in the family that are related to each other.
Yeah, I'm going to try this. This is the application tied to that. Let's see how that. I'm going to leave it on claims. So there's 2 claims. Okay, and it was just like that. And 1. So the claims came, it was divided into claim. Oh, this is interesting. So this, the third case, here's the thing. A polymer, a material comprising, and a method of modulating. That's what they filed a claim. Filed in their claim. And only 2 of those survived. Somehow in the, again, there's the prosecution is a back and forth with the patent examiner to say, well, that's not inventive. Maybe it was disclosed by someone else or by them in one of their earlier applications. What actually is granted is only these. So fabric and conductive. But the material is not. Now, I don't know if that material, again, I have to read the exact detail of it. Does that show up in one of these other ones? No, it's a method. Right? It doesn't. So for whatever reason, trying to claim this material with an interpreting polymer network,
Mike, the fabric is granted, so it's
didn't make it. So, but yeah. So polymer. Where am I? Method, material, conductive polymer. Fabric, conductive polymer. Right. So whatever you file. Well, I'm gonna go here. What you file with all this information, you can't update that, but if the examiner says your claims are not quite acceptable, you do get a chance. Oh, I'm wrong. Here you go. You do get a chance to modify those in the prosecution stage. That's interesting.
Would you mind clicking on the similar patents? I think
Yeah.
I'm really
So that was
interested
another
in
one. Let's
that
go to. I'll go to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And what does that show? Similar, and that does an analysis. I don't think it should be too crazy. You know, it's looking. I also wanted to do the graph.
This is a feature of Orbit. It's been around for like at least 10 years. I've seen it when we first came out with Orbit, and it uses the language, the vocabulary in the patent and the classification codes from the patent offices to look for patents that have similar technology, and this is definitely unique to a tool like Orbit.
And now look at that. So I'm gonna have to move our.
So what I'm interested in, Mike, on this one, is there any company
Records
or
1 through
something
25
not
of
the US
500, so
Navy?
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the best
And-
ones are near the top. So you see the 100% on the top on the right side. That tells you how similar it is. So yeah, it gives you 500. But it's like really you need to look for the ones that are really the most similar.
And this is its most similar, and it's them. This is theirs,
Yeah.
and this is the prior one, right?
Yeah.
So okay, makes sense. But this is all right. It's the National Lab in France and Rhodia.
That's the closest one that's like a commercial, maybe. Is Rhodia a commercial entity?
Right?
And there's also
And that's where sometime this is interesting. So this doesn't this doesn't cite the original because it didn't turn up in that search, but it's the Orbit Analytical says, but it's somewhat similar to it with an okay, not perfect match. Boeing, right? And again, why there's this is one that's just US 12, so that's only a few years old, 2019, right? And so on and so on. So because there may be a lot of things in the 70s, you could start seeing how close it does have to be. Okay, 100%.
I would read through some of these to see if there's any commercially useful application that's been.
Right. Do I want to pick one? Let's see. You can. I don't have it here. Let's see. You can, for example, select some of them and then download them as list and uses thereof. I'm trying to think the other. other tools. Oh, you can filter by document type, which there'll be patents and grant. Ah, I shouldn't have done that. It's going to be slow. I'm just going to pick one. Since this is the highest, it's not them. I'll see what that says. Oh, and it's inside the claims. All right. It's also thiophenes, which is their original WUDs. The Biblio. Now this shows some of the other features that you don't. Granted in Japan and Korea and US.
Yeah, this is more like it in terms of a lot of different countries it's been rolled out. So that typically it's expensive to roll out in this many countries, so they must have been thinking that this is a really valuable patent.
Right, so you're seeing what's that? I'll say, all right, and if it's a still from 2019, these are granted. So there's still this, and you've brought this up in the past, Sylvia, in our talks that you want to keep these patents alive in all these countries. You're paying some maintenance fee periodically, and now that this thing is, I'll say, give me a granted one. 2016 in advance. So it's 10 years. It's been granted in 10 years ago in Japan. Are you still really going to use that? This is where you say, I don't know if you call it pruning, right? Do you really want to keep that going? Or now that it's in midlife, is it time to start canceling? No, we know we're not going to, or
so
we want to find someone else that could license it.
Like, who's the owner of this one?
Huh. That's interesting. Good. So that it works. I mean, it's.
Let's look at who the owner of this one is and see if there are citations on it. Yeah, so this is a rodeo operations, and it is a French research institute. Looks like they could use some collaboration with Tornado IP Consulting to help them prune their patent portfolio, because they're likely paying millions of dollars if they're not pruning their portfolio. Do you see citations on this one, Mike? Let's see. I just wonder if the first one we looked at, it didn't have citations.
Technology is codes of JP. Oh, jeez. Those are the codes. Technology domain. Yeah, I think I didn't use that in the most convenient way. There's got to be a future citations. Oh, here's a compare parents. We can do that. I don't see it. There's got to be a. I thought there was a. Let's see. Do I menu?
You know what, we could stop, since we're heading up to the end of the 30 minutes that we usually do, we could stop here and we can ask, look into the citations feature next time, because this citation feature is really, really valuable, and I'm sure there's an easy way to do it. It's just, we're just learning how to use some aspects of this tool.
Like, this is where I get to a patent often. Oh, what are the claims? Okay, if it's a single one, you got to pick one. Who cited this? And so that's a question I will ask myself often, and is that readily done from here? I have to believe that it's priority is not hard to get to, but I want to learn that. So because that is free, that is.
If you click on, instead of detail, you click on the menu, maybe.
Yeah, so that one over to here. That just was what I'm looking for. Easy search, Sophia. Number search. Here's the search results. All right, so. What do any of these do? These are analytical tools. Workflow module. This is alert. You can have an alert. Oh, what does this do? I don't want to. All right. There are lots of features. Again, as I've used other softwares. This one is I'm new to, but it has it somewhere. Let's see.
Yeah, the other thing that's really nice to, if we can figure it out, is to figure out what's the advantage. Some of the other tools will have like an advantage abstract, because we want to know why is
this has it on under the key content.
Yeah.
So.
Doesn't really tell you much. All right, I think this is great for now. It's a good start to show people that it's really worth the money to pay for these tools if you are in innovative space. And we can show you additional features next time we talk, because there's certain additional features where you can be very effective at looking at a large set of patents too, and highlight the ones that you should be most interested in. So thank you for joining Thoughtful Thursdays, and we will be back to continue this discussion.